Good morning, and welcome to All People's Church, Unitarian Universalist. My name is Michael Zepeda, and I'm your co-celebrant for this morning's service. Our Sunday service is a shared time of worship for all present as we gather for music, spoken words, a time of reflection, and inspiration as a religious community. Let us come together in a spirit of compassion and respect for ourselves and others. If you're a visitor today and haven't signed in, please do. There's a visitor's table by the front door, and signing in will give us the opportunity to acknowledge your visit, and we'll put you on the list for our weekly emails and our monthly newsletter. Our pulpit today is graced by our new minister, Lori King Nelson. We're so happy you're with us. Lori holds a Master of Divinity from Bright Divinity School at TCU, and we're blessed by her affinity with Unitarianism. Before we continue with our service, please note these reminders and announcements. There is a table in the foyer with volunteer forms. If you are willing and able to offer your time and talent to the religious education program, please stop by the table and fill out a form, or you can scan the QR code. Very good.
Thank you, Misha. Good morning, everyone. Let us come together using the opening words from Dero K. Farrar, who is the Director of Music at First Unitarian Church of Portland, Oregon. That which is in us and all around us, and which constantly draws us to our holiest selves, please never stop. Even in those tiny moments when I feel emboldened by my own righteousness, bring me back to godliness and grace. Transform my way of being so that I will see the heart, humanity, and divinity in all and respond in kind.
We invite you now to rise, embody your spirit for the chalice lighting, the opening hymn, and our spoken affirmation. The chalice words are from Christine Robinson. We gather this hour as people of faith with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning in celebration of the life we share together. Our opening hymn is our hymn of the month for May, and that is number 323, Break Not the Circle, in the gray hymnals. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve others in community, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with creation. Thus do we covenant with one another. The young and the young at heart are now invited to come forward here for the story time for all ages here at the front of the chancel.
I don't know if we are going to have any young and young at heart, but I will sit down here anyway and speak with each of you. Today we're talking about looking for the divine, which would seem to be just something that's right in front of our face all the time. Every time I look at each of you, I know that that's what I'm looking at. And yes?
She's great with kids.
Oh. Okay, they are here. Oh, yeah. If you'd like to chat, you're welcome to. This morning I actually herded cats. I had to stop on the way here and get a lint brush because all of my herding was all over me. I never thought that it was something I was able to do, but this morning it all worked out. I'm fostering a new cat right now, and she's old. And so all of my cats, I'm not going to say how many I have been just delightful with her, and I'm so happy. But she moves very slowly, and all of the other cats move with her. So, have to go in a herd. Good morning. Good morning, how are you? Your shoes are lighting up. And you have some lifesavers. I started to say lightsabers, but they are not lightsabers. Lifesavers. They're mints. Good morning. Yeah, so I was telling them that this morning we're talking about looking for the divine. Yeah. So what? So when I say, does anybody know what I mean when I say I'm looking for the divine? You don't? Do you? You do? Tell me what the divine is. It can be that space right there. You're absolutely right. And it can be that space right there that is called you. And it can be you and you and you and everyone who's in here and everyone who's not in here. Anybody in the world. And so when we look at people being divine, we also have to look at everything that's been created as being divine as well, so that we can respect all of that, right? So I have this list of religions. Now this isn't all the religions there are in the world, but this is a lot of them. And you know, each one of these religions, they have little groups inside them, because some of them don't believe the same thing. So they'll have different groups that believe something a little different. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, though, is it's important that we go on a journey together, and then we look for the things that bring truth and love and make sense to us, right? So that we can see the divine in other people, and we can also see the divine in ourselves. So when you go look at people today, and maybe for the rest of the week, look them right in the face and see what's divine about them. okay? And then name it, all right? Do you think you can name it? You can look at someone and you can see the divine in them, and you can name that divine thing? Well, the divine is inside of us, right? Yeah, and you found a peppermint too. Yeah. That's right. All right. Well, let's go out into the world and let's find some divinity in people, okay? You'll have a good week. It's time to go. Let's sing our friends out. He's adorable. I tell you, no two stories for all ages are ever the same. Our reading today also comes from Diderot K. Farrar, and it's called Squandered Divinity. Oh God, was there something that I missed? Did I squander my divinity? Was happiness within me the whole time? Those are lyrics to Dust and Ashes by Dave Malloy from Natasha, Pierre, and the Great Comet of 1812. The song starts, "Is This How I Die?" It is sung by Josh Groban in a Broadway musical I know absolutely nothing about. The combination of all these things was enough to make me immediately check out for the next 5 minutes or so when I heard it recently at a piano bar for show tunes. Oh, oops, I forgot to give you the nerd alert before saying that. Sorry, at any rate, the song started and I got up to go buy a ginger molasses cookie. When I got back to my seat, the song was still going, and the above quote hit me as soon as it was sung. I believe that every person is created in the image of God, born a replica of divinity. Some people call it the God within. Others refer to it as the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Whatever words make sense to us, we all have it. We invoke the spirit of it for ourselves and for others when we see any number of injustices occurring. But good Lord, when do we ever turn it back on ourselves and question our own habits of squandering our divinity and wasting our capacity to be holy? I'm not necessarily talking about the big gesture stuff, like rallying against white supremacy, or donating toward natural disaster relief, or tutoring underprivileged children of color. I'm talking about how we behave in committee meetings, or how we respond to change we don't like, or how we think and talk about those with values different from our own. Living up to my sacred identity is hard. It means confessing that I have prioritized my own happiness at the expense of others. It means recognizing that my perspective is no more important than anyone else's. It means being good to those I don't think deserve it. It means remembering that every time I fail to choose grace or goodness or peace, I am thoughtlessly squandering my divinity.
Our offertory words are from Kristen Collins. We give to remind ourselves how many gifts we have to offer. We give to remember that we are part of something bigger than ourselves. We give because we believe in music and sacred space. We give with the faith that together we have enough. Each Sunday, we take half of the non-dedicated cash offering that is received and share it with a local organization whose values and goals reflect our own. This quarter, we are supporting the Texas UU Justice Ministry, a statewide justice ministry that raises the voice of Unitarian Universalist values in public and seeks to have those values enacted into legislation and public policy. Please give generously. If you prefer, donations can be made using the QR code that is on the back of your order of service. The gifts of the congregation will be most gratefully received. Will the ushers please come forward? Please stand as you are willing and able for our hymn number 187, It Sounds Along the Ages. We gather as a house of stories, many stories, woven fine. As we listen to the tales of those who have gone before, the way in front of us becomes more clear. As we make space for voices long silenced, all of us become more free. As we hear the accounts of those who made it through the dark, courage reigns on each and every one. These stories, friends, I need yours as you need mine. It is how we become whole. Yes, we gather as a house of many stories. Come and let us listen once again. Each week, there is a journal outside the entrance to the sanctuary where you can leave a message of memory or hope before the service. We honor these messages by lighting 3 candles here next to our chalice, and also at any time during our service, you're welcome to come and light a candle in our meditation center here at the side of the chancel. In our book of memory and hope this morning, we've been asked to remember the folks in Texas and Oklahoma that were so focused or affected by the storms last night, with 5 people losing their lives. Also, this past Monday, Dale Husband's father, James Robert Husband, passed away. A card for Dale is available on a table in the foyer to be signed. There is also a card for Reneel Baker, who lost 2 cousins to a tragic shooting last weekend. And now we pause at this time to hold and honor the sorrows and celebrations among us, including those deeply felt but left here unspoken. Let us pause for a moment of silent meditation, and then Misha will lift our hearts with music.
Thank you, Misha. When I spoke to the young people a little while ago and showed them that great list of religions, one thing that all religions have in common is music. There's a reason for that. Lifts our spirits and changes how we look at ourselves and others. So I've always felt the greatest problem with any organized religion is the human element. Religion, because most everyone believes in something, offers with great ease the ability to be hijacked, changed and used to control people and wield power. It also offers, with the same ease, the ability to comfort and provide justice. We're all just searching for a truth that makes sense to us, individually and collectively. And good for us for not accepting what we may or may not have been born into. But also, the path to truth is long and filled with religions that would very much like to be your truth. I could use an example like the current use of a flag bearing a certain tree and an appeal to a higher power, but I won't. But if I did, whose path does that truth represent? There are many people flying this hypothetical flag that want everyone in an entire nation to believe in their brand of religion. Problem is, they all also believe differently from one another. The other problem is finding that we can be dismissive of their worth because their beliefs differ from our own. Devaluing others is extremely problematic because where do we end up drawing that line? Who's in and who's out? Pastafarianism, a social movement turned religion, follows a list of 8 I'd rather you didn't, and you should look those up. They're great. And encourages members to dress as pirates. Originating from opposition to Kansas schools teaching intelligent design, a course which was introduced by John Calvert, the religion has a global membership of about 40,000. In 2005, Michael Henderson demanded their deity, the flying spaghetti monster, be given equal time in Kansas classrooms. I can see that some of y'all remember this. Of course, both things sound ridiculous and silly, but so does a grifter finding a couple of golden plates in a field with the help of an angel and creating a following with it. John Calvert, Michael Henderson, and Joseph Smith were all searching for their own truth, their own way of making sense of our world and our place in it. And the people who coalesced around them were no different than the ancient Greeks or the present-day Mevlevi. Just people on a journey, believing there is something more to learn. Until about 25 years ago, I naively believed that if we could only learn about other religions and get to know the people who practice them, there would be less misunderstanding and more community. The problem, well, one of the problems, with that kind of pie-in-the-sky, rose-colored glasses approach to kumbayaism is the sheer number of ways people believe in 2024. Don't get me wrong, I still feel we can learn from the texts and practitioners of the major and even some of the minor religions, but every one of the religions on the list I provided has a religious text. And every one of the followers of those religious texts has their own unique interpretation of that text. Multiply that by the number of humans on the planet, and I'm not sure the human lifespan is long enough to take all of it in. And yet, we continue to reach toward a truth in our lives that makes sense. It's important to note, if we're looking at the number of ways to believe and seek truth, that we not only remember the number of denominations within each religion, but see clearly the ease at which new ones can form. By the time the First Council of Nicaea convened in 325 AD, there were already more than 50 Christian-ish denominations. By medieval times, nearly 200. And by the industrial age, close to 1,500. Today, there are around 45,000 Christian denominations, each with their own take on the message of Jesus. Some, as my son pointed out, are ginos, followers of Jesus in name only. Though Christians are not the only ones that struggle with denominations that promote a less than loving, less than healthy interpretation of their own faith. This is problematic at every intersection of humans and religions, because if there isn't a denomination that loves you the way you love, or hates the way you hate, or defines freedom the way you define freedom, or fences off the divine from those you agree or disagree with, you can just go and create your own version of an already corrupted religion. People are losing their way with every tick of the clock and finding distorted truth that makes sense to them in a world that seems upside down from the one they were born into. Ben Clausen, creator of the Nationalist White Party, precursor to the White Nationalist Party, formed the Church of the Creator after deciding his previous church was too kind to Black people and Jewish people. He wrote his own religious text called The White Man's Bible. And yes, it is exactly what you're thinking. Clausen proclaimed, "We believe the white race was created in the image of the Lord." He later created a school for boys, teaching them how to use firearms and serve their own race through religious and political leadership. Unfortunately, this is not an uncommon occurrence. Every person here can name at least one house of worship or whole denomination that is formed to appeal to real or imagined hurts in the world. Often, there will be many messages, like casting a wide net to see how many folks you can catch. When it comes to religion, there just aren't many guardrails to catch us when we find ourselves on the wrong path. In 1998, Winfried Vogel wrote about an experience with a particular student in seminary. He told the story this way. One of my former students at the theological seminary, where I was teaching at the time, urged me to watch the movie Dead Poets Society, a popular Hollywood production of a few years ago. Let me briefly recall what I saw. A renowned college celebrates the beginning of a new school year. Everything is very solemn and breathes the air of veneration and fame. An old Gothic-style colonnade leads into the assembly hall where students, faculty, and parents gather. The senior class members carry banners to the front with the mottos of the school, which later on everyone repeats aloud with one accord: tradition, honor, discipline, excellence. As can be expected, all the men are wearing suit and tie for the occasion. The proud president announces that 50% of all graduates were again accepted into Ivy League graduate schools and universities. Then follows a sequence with a stern father who, obviously with a total lack of feeling, reprimands his son, demanding blind obedience, and thereby spoiling a special cause of happiness to which his son had been looking forward. A little later, the film focuses on the students enduring boring classes with totally unimaginative professors. Then he comes, the new hero in the person of the new English teacher, without suit and tie, whistling in class, in one word, unconventional. We see him easily win the hearts of receptive students who take to his wisdom like dry sponges absorbing water. He hammers his message into them with charming but relentless fervor. Carpe diem, seize the day. Make your life something special, something out of the ordinary. And if it means to rip out certain pages from textbooks which contain nothing but stern rules, do it. Because that's fine with the new professor. From now on, he cheerfully proclaims, you will learn to think for yourself. He promotes beauty, romantics, and love. His students fly for him and would do anything for him. While watching, I could not help but detect a philosophy which had been masterfully disguised, highlighted with unabashed usages of cliches, and yet loudly proclaimed, a philosophy which has permeated our society on grand scale. Its message is preached from many political, ecclesiastical, and educational pulpits, amplified by the media, especially magazines, television, and the World Wide Web. This is dated, remember. Think what you want, say what you want, do what you want. The limits may be the comfort or discomfort of my neighbor, but otherwise, there is no authority above me, no institution besides me, and no organization before or behind me. So this is the number one issue we confront today. Becoming unmoored from the belief that we are all, including ourselves, divine. It has so many ethical, moral, educational, and even political consequences, reaching the farthest corners of our everyday lives. How do we view the divine? How do we view ourselves? How do we view religious texts? How do we view our place in the world? How can we know when something is the truth? And how should we then live? A few years back, someone very close to my family posted a quote by Pastor Robert Jeffress. Something along the line of how Christ died for us and we have to make that worth something in our lives, sacrifice, live the word, love our neighbors, etc., etc. And I asked if they understood Jeffress's racist and homophobic theology, how harm-filled it is to so many people that this very person loves. Their response was that it shouldn't matter what Jeffress thinks if they just like that he said that one particular thing. Between that and endorsements of political candidates who also approve of Jeffress's theology, most of my family chose to distance themselves from this person, which was so painful for everyone. Though this person continues to feel they have caused no harm and seems to have no understanding why there is now a fracture in the relationship. I'm sure that each of you have encountered similar people in your lives, and like me, have felt the struggle of how to respond. Sometimes there are not even the limits of comfort and discomfort to guide us in our search for truth. But I do have to ask, is it possible to see the divine in this person also? Like Lindsay Boyer said, we live in a culture in which many of us are increasingly exposed to faith traditions other than the ones with which we grew up. Once we become knowledgeable about other faiths, we are unlikely to have the same prejudices we may have learned as a child. We see that people of other faiths are struggling with moral issues similar to our own, and we begin to believe that there may be more than one path to the divine, and that our own religion may not be the sole and exclusive source of truth. We know it's impossible to understand the many intersections in each person's life that leads them to believe one way or the other. but we can open ourselves to all of the possibilities that are presented to us on our own spiritual journey. And seeking the divine is a journey that requires beginning with discerning what we wish to find within ourselves. And that enlightenment will illuminate our own visions of what seeking the divine looks like. Now, I'm still a work in progress. I had to take a long, hard look at my own beliefs, letting so much of what I thought I knew fall away, leaving me more of an empty vessel to be alternately filled and shared along the bumpy path. What I want to find within myself is wonder and excitement at the possibilities of the world around me. I want to find that when I open my mouth to speak, the words I form are honest, kind, and filled with love. I want to be a source of light that is reflective of the awe I feel when I try to wrap my mind around creation. What I have chosen to carry with me is a vision of the divine as life-giving, love-spreading, kindness-speaking. And if I encounter a truth that is not reflective of that, I hope that I am filled enough to leave a little of myself behind with them. Most of all, I want to carry the divine that resides in me, the divine that journeys with me to meet the divine in others. I hope to always recognize and honor the divine that exists in each of us, never squandering my own or crushing another's. As we move through this week, I hope you will look for the worth, the divinity in others, and name it, like I ask the young people to do. Be intentional. Some will be a challenge for sure, but let yourself rise to that challenge. Take what is good and leave a bit of your own light to guide their journey. It will light yours as well. Will you stand as you are able and join in the closing hymn, number 131, Love Will Guide Us.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, nor the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Our benediction comes from the UUA website, and it's by Darcy Roque. There's too much hardship in this world to not find joy every day. There's too much injustice in this world to not right the balance every day. There's too much pain in this world to not heal every day. Each of us ministers to a weary world. Let us go forth now and do that which calls us to make this world more loving, more compassionate, and more filled with the grace of the divine presence. Services now ended. We invite you to stay and enjoy coffee and conversation in the library afterwards. Go be the good people.